He went out, whoever it was.
Ah, see, there's a guy who just doesn't like the tone of my voice. So anyway, I don't talk about religion or politics. What I want to talk to you about is history. It's very interesting, and the more you learn about it, the more it starts to make sense. But when it starts to make sense, it just makes you more interested in it because you can't quit doing it. One of the problems with being interested in history is there's a lot of it, so it occupies a lot of my time. I spent a lot of time as a young man being aware, as we all are, that the United States is a great country, and I could not understand why we supported all of those dictatorships in the Caribbean. All those little countries down there, we call them banana republics, and it was a derogatory term, and I was never really aware of how that happened. But I later found out that one of the things that we get led into, we are easily moved around by advertising and whatnot. Very often, we simply respond to what we now call dog whistles, where we really just have a feeling and somebody uses certain terms and then we get all upset even though we don't even know what it's all about. So in reading the Nuremberg Diaries, this is written by a guy named James Gilbert. He was a U.S. Army psychiatrist, and his job during the Nuremberg trials was every day to go around and interview every one of those guys who was on trial. So he had a lot of conversation with them, and basically this is what he wrote down. His whole purpose there was to keep evaluating them and keeping their spirits up and keeping them from slitting their wrists or killing themselves before they had a chance to convict them and hang them, because the idea was really to demonstrate to the world how horrible these were. So one of these conversations that he had with Goering, he says, this is Jim Gilbert talking, he said, we got around to the subject of war again, and I said that contrary to his attitude, I did not think that the common people are very thankful for leaders who bring them war and destruction. Why, of course, the people don't want war. Goering shrugged. Why would some poor Slav on a farm want to risk his life in a war when the best he can get out of it is to come back to his farm in one piece? Naturally, the common people don't want war, neither in Russia, nor in England, nor in America, nor for that matter in Germany. That is understood. But after all, it is the leaders of the country who determine the policy, and it is always a simple matter to drag the people along, whether it is a democracy, a fascist dictatorship, a parliament, or a communist dictatorship. There's one difference, I pointed out. In a democracy, the people have some say in the matter through their elected representatives, and in the United States, only Congress can declare war. Oh, that's all well and good, but voice or no voice, the people can always be brought to the bidding of the leaders. That is easy. All you have to do is tell them they are being attacked and denounce the pacifists for lack of patriotism and exposing the country to danger. It works the same in any country. And that allowed me to understand how exactly we got into Vietnam. But there were other things that happened that I was aware of that I did not understand until I read that book and this one. Every time the United Fruit had problems, United Fruit Company had problems with any country that they did business with, all of a sudden the CIA formed a revolution and they had a new leader. So it was like the United Fruit Company really ran all those countries. They were raising bananas for United Fruit. Well, I couldn't understand how we could get involved in all those things. But Edward Bernays apparently is the father of basically advertising or
PR
and whatnot. Wrote a book called Crystallizing Public Opinion. And we make their job easier by whenever somebody's talking to us in an area where we're not educated, they have every advantage over us. Because they can, in fact, show us something to hate or something to fear and get us to work. And what happened in one of these countries, the United Fruit Company had purchased millions of acres from a dictator. Easy to do. He owns this country, he's a dictator. He had United Fruit, give me a bunch of cash, and I'll give you hundreds of thousands of acres. So that's the way it was. Now, those people throw out that dictator, elect a democratic Congress and a president and whatnot, who decides he's going to expropriate this land that this previous dictator had given to United Fruit. So They said, okay, United Fruit, we want the land back and we'll buy it from you. And we'll pay you exactly what you have it on the books as on the tax values. So we'll pay you exactly what you've told us it was worth. And he said, no, that's not good enough. And so they go to Bernays, who gets newspaper articles written in the United States that these guys are trying to expropriate privately owned land. Forget the fact it was stolen recently. And this is communism. And that was the dog whistle that got our CI down there, and that guy died. They killed him. That's the end of that. Okay? So how does this all happen? How we so easily led around? Bernays says the Public Relations Council must deal with the fact that persons who have little knowledge of a subject almost invariably form definite and positive judgments on that subject. If we examine the mental furniture of I love that, the mental furniture. If we examine the mental furniture of the average man, says William Trotter, the author of a comprehensive study of the social psychology of the individual, we shall find it made up of a vast number of judgments of a very precise kind upon subjects of a very great variety, complexity, and difficulty. He will have fairly settled views upon the origin and nature of the universe, and upon what he will probably call its meaning. He will have conclusions as to what is to happen to him at death and after, as to what is and what is not should be the basis of his conduct. He will know how the country should be governed and why it is going to the dogs, why this piece of legislation is good and that bad. He will have strong views upon military and naval strategy, the principles of taxation, the use of alcohol and vaccination, the treatment of influenza, the prevention of hydrophobia, upon municipal trading, the teaching of Greek, upon what is permissible in art, satisfactory in literature, and hopeful in science. The bulk of such opinions must necessarily be without rational basis, since many of them are concerned with problems admitted by experts to be still unsolved. While as to the rest, it is clear that training and experience of no average man can qualify him to have any opinion upon them at all. The rational method adequately used would have told him that on the great majority of these questions, there could be for him but one attitude, that of suspended judgment. And so, because we are basically uninformed, because life is complex, there's a lot of stuff to know, we can't all know that, we're all susceptible to this stuff. Currently, we are told almost on a daily basis that our military budget has been decimated and we're in grave danger. And we need to elect somebody who's going to get that military budget back where it belongs. Well, this is what they're dealing with, and I would be too embarrassed to show this as a prop at a Toastmasters group because you really can't see it. I want to be forgiven because I brought some copies, so if anybody's really interested in deciding whether or not this is a lie or not. But if you look at this graph, is military expenditures, these are all, inflation's taken out, these are all in 1916, in 2016 dollars. Starting over here, this is what we were spending in Korea. Here's Vietnam. And I would remind you that in Vietnam, we dropped more bombs in Vietnam than we dropped all during World War II. So it wasn't like this was cheap war. And here's what we spent in Vietnam. And then the Cold War in general. We had a big Reagan build-up after the Cold War, and then it dropped off a little bit, and here's where we are during Iraq and Afghanistan. And all this light graph here is just the extra stuff that, So here we are, here's our current budget. Doesn't look to me like as if we're doing a lot less than we used to. So why is it interested in upping this budget? The reason they're interested in upping the budget is that our industry and our military love new things. They love new and wonderful things. We just got through, after years and years of spending hundreds of millions of dollars on a plane called the F-22, which didn't really fly that well, and I don't think it's even used anymore, but we spent a lot of money on it. And now they've come up with an F-35. There's always a new number and a new budget. So now the Air Force wants to buy these F-35s for $200 million apiece, $200 million each, and they want to replace the A-10. Now the A-10 is the Air Force plane that's used for close air support. It's been effective ever since Vietnam. We use them all the time. They are great for close air support, for taking out your enemy's tanks and whatnot. Their advantages are they fly slow, they can stay over an area to help whoever's on the ground fighting. They can see what's going on. They're not going so fast that they can't. They're pretty well armored, so the pilots are pretty much immune from ground fire and whatnot. They're very hardy plane. We can make it for about 20 million apiece. The design has already been done. And so why is this change necessary? When we know that unless we're really going to fight World War III with the big bombs against somebody like the Soviet Union, there's absolutely no use for this F-35 at all these down. Well, if you read, if you investigate hard enough, you can find people who are inside the system who can explain more of what's going on there. In this F-35, there are people in the Air Force who don't even want this to be tested against the A-9. In other words, we're going to find out which one does this close air support better than the others. As a matter of fact, the general in charge of this program has told all of his people that they'll be tried for treason if they go to their congressman and try to explain that this is a bullshit program. So that's what's behind this. And we get, our dog whistle is, oh my God, our military has just been decimated. And if you don't know, then you are susceptible to these guys. So I'm not in favor of any particular candidate. And I'm not in favor of any particular president. I'm in favor of somebody who understands that the world is not better when we go to war. We should protect ourselves. But as a matter of fact, that's not the situation. We think that we're under attack, and you can hear it all over us because those people hate us because of our freedoms that we enjoy. Every one of those people keeps saying that. I listen to Ted Cruz go on and on about why they hate us. He knows exactly why they hate us. Because of our freedoms. Here's Ted Cruz's problem with that explanation. The Swedes are pretty free. They're not attacking Sweden. The Swiss are pretty free. They're not attacking Switzerland. Why is that? Why do they pick us out? They pick us out because we are the most dangerous country in the world because we're so aggressive. We look around the world, and if somebody in Honduras, a president down there decides he's going to build a railroad to compete with United Fruits Railroad, our CIA goes down there and kills them. The world is afraid of us. They have reason to be afraid of us. And it's not because you and I are like that, but we follow leaders who are. We follow leaders who have big bucks invested in getting an A-35 at our expense. Big bucks. We need to quit listening to dog whistles. We need to do a lot more history studying. We need to be a far better informed people so that we can be as good nationally and internationally as we know we are individually. Thank you very much.